We're all in this detox life, isn't it?
All in.
Okay.
Okay, we're now live streaming, I think. Yes, lovely. So welcome. My name's Hester and we're doing a roundtable talk this evening, which is going to be about the community. We're talking about COVID-19 and how it's affecting Black and brown communities in the UK. And I've got some friends here this evening that are going to be giving their thoughts and feelings and perspectives. And we want to say, first of all, that all of these are our opinions and none of us here are medical professionals or virologists. I'm going to start by sharing this YouTube video, actually, which is about, it's about Brent. Oh, now I've lost it. I'm going to have to find it again. Talk amongst yourselves.
When I say COVID-19, what comes into your mind?
Oh, well, could we say hello, each of us, before?
Oh, should we do
Because,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right? Marvina, you go first.
Oh, gosh. Hi, my name is Marvina Newton. And I am the co-founder for Black Lives Matter League and United for Black Lives. And I'm an associate lecturer in my spare time. Yeah, teaching youth and community. And I'm going to pass it to Charlotte.
Hello everyone, my name is Charlotte. I am a natural hair and skincare specialist. I am an advocate for equality for each and every one of us. I believe in speaking up for those who may not yet be ready to speak for themselves. But altogether as a community, I believe that if we come together, we can achieve so much more. And I'm going to hand over to Mary.
Hey, thank you, Charlotte. I don't know. I'm just here to experience this panel discussion. I'm not particularly from anywhere. I'm a Black person who is just interested in the issues that affect us. So yeah, so I'm happy to be here. I'm going to pass to Kevin.
Hi, I'm Kevin. I'm a qualified youth worker, 26 years in now. At the moment, well, the last job I've done is actually working for a university college teaching youth work practitioners best practice in line with policy to make sure that they are getting the correct rigor and so forth within the work that they do. Other than that, I do kind of few projects outside of the realms of teaching and lecturing, I should say, which is more kind of community-based and developmental sort of stuff. And I'm very passionate about the idea of people stability.
Thank you, Kevin. Oh, thank you everyone for being here. I'm always so grateful for your time. Right, I'm ready now. I can share my screen and hopefully you guys are going to be able to hear this. I'll try and turn my volume up.
The sound's not coming through.
Starting to come through.
You started again.
You want me to start again? Right, I'm going to do that.
Because we can't hear it that well.
Oh no. Can't exit the screen share.
Don't worry. Technology is always beautiful.
It's absolutely teaches us patience and allows us to share the live so other people can join in.
Right.
Take
I'm
your
going to
time.
try again, and all I can do is turn my volume up to the max.
Yeah.
For some reason, so you're going to have to turn your volume up to the max as well.
Okay.
It's on the max.
All right. Resume share. Go back there.
But oh, but um, but
I'm really sorry, I can't hear anything.
don't
Esther, could you mute yours just for a moment? Because I can hear your beautiful baby. And she's laughing at us.
Can you
Or
hear
he,
any?
sorry. Right.
Can you hear the video?
Can't hear anything now.
I've been struggling to hear it since it's been playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to give up.
Okay, give us a summary of the video.
Yeah.
Give us a summary of the video, Hester.
I'm going to give up. I'm going to just share the link with you guys, and I'll put it on. And you can watch it in your own time. No, it's actually really good. So it's a shame that that was not working. And
No, give us a summary of it. Just tell us what the video says.
This is why I need my tech support. It talks about the pandemic in Brent and how there's loads of people being affected disproportionately, much the same as other communities in London like Newham, Lewisham, Hounslow, and it's just a short 2-minute clip. So it's kind of the same story that we've been hearing in the news, and also that the medical reports have come out to show that Black communities are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. It doesn't really go into that much detail for why, which is what we were talking about a little bit before we started being live on YouTube. So it's just to sort of introduce the topic, in fact. So I wonder, now that we've sort of introduced this topic, we know that the pandemic is at its peak, right? It's worse than it was last April. And for example, I have a friend who's a hospital porter. When he brought up the fact that, and he's a Black man, and he brought up the fact that, like, why isn't he wearing PPE? Because he's moving patients around. They also, when somebody passes and they're on a gurney, they're also moving the people. And then he brought up, you know, hold on, everyone else has got PPE, why haven't I got PPE? Then they actually cut his shifts. So
What?
yeah, so that, you know, in many ways, there's sort of things that need to be thought of and talked about. And so it's an open conversation today to let us surface some of the things that really might not have been said or considered. I mean, one of those when we were talking before is, like, genetically there's not a propensity for this disease more than the next person, but actually there's social economic conditions and living conditions and things like that we should be thinking about and talking about. So just wonder if anyone's got like a first sort of response or thought, or even just a personal story that they want to begin with.
So before we even start, I want anyone watching this to know that this is my opinion. I'm not a professional, and these are my thoughts and my thoughts only. And I know in a lot of our Black community, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, not only in the Black community, across the whole world, regardless of your color, your sexuality, your background, your social class. You have your views. Please do not treat anything being said as gospel, and you're free to choose to disagree with my opinion. When they talk about the prevalent in the Black community, in my opinion. They need to look at the defining factors. We are, and one thing I have to say, I am not here to paint the Black community as this frail, disadvantaged, or whatever community, because that's what people like to portray all the time. What I'm saying is that there's social economical challenges that our community faces that disproportionately affect us. And we should be able to acknowledge that these might be the reasons that could be living conditions. And when I say living conditions, let me make this clear. Doesn't mean that we might not be able to afford properties. It might just mean that we have bigger families and we are around our family members more than others. And our family members sometimes are your first line workers who are then exposed. And because we have relationships like that where we are working 2 or 3 jobs, because that's what we do, we provide. And I know those stereotypes that are out there. When you're clapping for NHS, you're clapping for a lot of paying staff. Remember that. I prefer to use the word Black and African descent because I can't talk for anybody other than that, because that's
Absolutely.
what shade I am. And when I say Black, I mean Black. I don't mean politically Black. And again, that's something you can choose to discuss another time. But for me, I think we've not, a lot of people from the Black community have not had time off work. We've been working throughout this whole period. We've been the ones having to drive the buses. We've been the ones having to work as porters, taking care of your children, you know, teaching in your schools and doing everything. So that means there's going to be a high number, even though we're the minority, who are sick and testing positive. Let's get that fact clear. So when you hear those numbers, it's not that we're the ones breaking the rules. It's just that we are the frontline workers who, if you're in London, if you're in these areas, we're the ones running the food banks. As I was just talking to Hester, and in my whole sitting room, I've got a food bank that I'm running right now as a single mother. And even though it sounds silly, I'm sitting in my sitting room and I've got like, let me see if I can turn the camera around. Can you see that? Parcels and parcels where people come to my door to pick food. It's not a choice. It's something that we expose ourselves to because we always doing good, trying to figure out how to help people, whether that's church. So yes, I can see those problems, but at the same time, we need to understand why you think the cause, because there's no research, there's no scientific research to tell us why it's what they think based on the numbers that they're seeing. So I would like to explore why those figures are the figures they are. And if they're going to talk about the figures, they need to explain it a little bit clearer. That's all I want to say about that, really. So I'm not here talking about the science around whether COVID. And for all those who are Black or African, let's really get this clear. The virus is real. It is not a pandemic. It can be seen as a pandemic to some people because of the way people are treating it. But I want you to understand this virus is real. So for that one, anyone listening to this, please take cord to that. I'll pass that to anybody else to open the discussion to anything else. But that's my 2 pence to start with.
Thank you so much, Malvina.
Thank you. I think, again, I would like to say any opinion I share is my own. So I will not deviate from that. However, I do think there are kind of, I'm not going to say misrepresentations, but things can kind of get represented in a way which is not looking at a bigger picture, i.e., they're saying Black and brown people are more susceptible to the virus. However, I will argue, or I'll put forward the question of, is that in a more kind of Eurocentric world, a Western world, i.e. Britain, America, etc.? Because when we looked at places like, when the virus first hit, and we're looking at the lockdowns in places like Africa and across the Caribbean, they had some of the lowest infection rates in the world. It actually, if I remember correctly, and I don't want to misquote it, but for what I can remember, it was actually South Africa, which was the region in Africa which had the highest number of cases throughout the whole of Africa. And again, they've got that strong link back to Europe and so forth. So is it actually Black people in a certain demographic who are actually getting a higher level of the COVID? And if that's the case, do we then have to look at what is it about it? I remember in probably back in April, May, that sort of time, they were talking about the obesity rate of the Black Americans and how that could affect the COVID. And then you had to go right back to why couldn't they afford better food to actually keep them slimmer, or afford to go on to do exercises or doing the kind of jobs which might make them sit around all day doing lack of exercises or whatever. And so we do have to look at the infrastructure around the whole of these things as well. And I would also hasten to add, I truly believe the virus is real and it is killing a lot of people, and we need to take heed.
Sorry, before, can I just come on the South African thing? So until recently, people could still travel. And I mean recently, like till last week, people could still travel from South Africa to the UK without declaring. They can go through Dubai and come to the UK and vice versa. And there was no, like, you didn't have to prove whether you had, that's why prove whether you had the variation. I think they just discussed that recently. One of the MPs brought that to Boris Johnson like just yesterday. Like, so again, let's be clear about this. In Africa, people assumed that loads of people were going to die from COVID, and we've got the lesser numbers. But how come in the UK now the BME people are the ones dying from it? Like, when we're the minority according to them. Like, when there's loads of Africans who I know that they are using the mask, they're doing some of this hand sanitation thing, but some places don't even have those things. They're surviving this stuff. What's going on? And this is where the distrust, and I have to say, the Black community has a major distrust for the medical system because it's riddled with unconscious bias, institutional racism that is they. I'm a big girl, so, and in the sense that, yeah, I can be considered slim thick, which is obese to these people. But so anytime anything's wrong with me, they would always look at my weight. I could say I have insomnia and they'll say, "Ah, have you thought about losing weight?" I could say anything. Have you thought about losing weight? But then they don't know the anatomy of how my body is built as an African queen. And I can't explain why I've been blessed by the gods. So for that, you need to take some time to understand my heritage. And that forms an unconscious bias in how they assume that BAME people are the ones that you need to. We've never been given anything first. So I just want us to also think about that. Who is informing them about this data that they're talking about? And why are people in Jamaica, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, in Grenada not dying like flies as they're dying here? So when you give me the data that shows me you've done the World Health Organization kind of research with the UN to show that this is everywhere, Black people are just dropping dead of COVID, then I'm understanding. So it must be something in Europe then. Maybe it's the racism that kills us a little bit quicker with COVID. Just wanted to drop that there. Anyway, pass that to anybody else.
I think it's actually interesting the point what you make about obesity and so forth in particular. And I know I mentioned it and then you kind of continued that. But I remember a little bit about myself. I used to do martial arts and I was actually a national champion at one point. So I was actually really quite fit. However, any BMI test I did came up that I was obese as a fit man doing martial arts. And it's a strange thing. And so therefore, what I was kept on being told was, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, rather than actually your muscles might be heavy or whatever it may be, you know. And again, it was just strange. And so I'm thinking, how does things get sold about a Black person? How are we talked about? How are we looked upon in terms of these things, you know? And it was strange. I think that the knock-on effect, and maybe it was maybe deliberate or maybe not. But I'm walking down my local street with people almost jumping in front of buses to get out of my way because they're so frightened of the Black man with the COVID. who might not, who haven't actually got the COVID. You know, so yeah.
It's a very interesting thing to talk about the understanding within the medical profession in this country. I mean, it also makes me think about the lack of understanding for Black women in general and the mistrust anyway. But for the Black community, things like BMI are just they're very skew-if. We know that. Charlotte, do you have any thoughts at this moment that you want to share with us? Or you're muted, my love.
So I have so many thoughts. Thank you both, like everyone, for sharing. I just want to express that the views that I'm about to share are purely my own. I'm not a doctor. I am not a qualified medical health practitioner. These are purely my views that I'm about to share. So I feel like it's a consistent formula that's regurgitated within from the white community towards the Black community when any type of anything is going on. Now, when I love the comparisons that were made with Jamaica, so the West Indies and Africa, compared to the people back here in England, Europe, surrounding countries. We're meant to be dying from this COVID, as you both have stated, more on a far more rapid rate than other nationalities. Now, we are the front line in so many types of jobs, as has already been explained. We are more open to crossovers with different people. When Hester shared her story of one of the porters who was just expressing, why haven't I got protective clothing? Surely I should have protective clothing if I am going to be meeting lots of different people on a daily basis. These things that seem like common sense to me, of course, people that are going to be on the front line crossing over with lots of different people are more likely to become infected. Of course they are. Sometimes, I'm listening and sometimes I think, this is too simple. And when I say it's too simple, it's a no-brainer. Like, of course, people that are going to be dealing with lots of different people are more likely to get ill. Of course they are more likely to catch the virus. Of course they are. Let alone with the daily pressures that these people are carrying, because a lot of these people, they're working on minimum wage. A lot of people working more than one job in order just to feed their family to a basic level. So there's the emotional turmoil, the stress and everything else that comes with it. So COVID-19 is all about the immune system, right? It breaks it down and, it affects what's left underlying. So these people that are a lot more emotionally traumatized, trying to strive for their families, they're breaking down the immune system, so they're more likely to catch it. If anything, it seems a little planned. It seems a little contrived. It seems a little, I'm trying to find the right word. I'm being extra mindful here. But it feels like there's a cleansing of sorts, and that those that have are going to be more cared for. But what is proven, as in the West Indies and in Africa, that our bodies are a lot stronger and a lot more susceptible to cope with it. So this whole national outcry for this injection that's meant to cure everything, well, if you look at the West Indies, if you look at Africa, people are surviving. They're able to eradicate this. Would you mind if I say flu? Like they're able to deal with it. They're able to manage it a lot better. I feel like there's a lot of scaremongering. I feel like there are a lot of tactics that are used to break people down mentally. Yes, I'm aware it's real. Yes, I'm aware that there's a lot going on surrounding COVID-19, but I also see a bigger picture around it. So I choose how much of it I'm going to take on internally in order to be more efficient in helping others. I just think there's so much around it, but then also the core of it seems so simple. So that's just my view. I've gone around the houses a bit there.
Now you come to something really important, which is about inequality in society, and it has made very clear how the inequalities is like a precursor, right, to getting this. So we talked a little bit about good food, low stress levels, low trauma. At first they were oh, Marvina. Yes, please, Marvina.
Oh, sorry. What she talked about there is the perfect embodiment of intersectionality. So intersectionality is like the multiple layers of what makes me me. The multiple layers of oppressions that might make people more susceptible to various things in their life. The thing about no one's talking about, and we need to call a spade, really, to the point that I'm actually getting up and sitting down because I'm just like, this conversation is getting to that point where you just have to just, the fear mongering is real. Whatever you think in your mind becomes the reality. If you're scared, let me tell you, when this whole COVID thing started, even though scientifically, and now I have to like pull ranks, I'm a microbiologist. That's what I studied. I worked in a lab for more than 12 years. I got some published papers and stuff like that. So we know what we're talking about. So let me sit in that authority now. Knowing that, I have never heard of a virus that people can make sound. I found that in the UK that people only learned how to wash their hands last year. That was a big deal for me. That they were teaching people to wash their hands last year and their face. That became a thing. Like, and they call us from Africa barbaric. Like, it was a whole thing. And if you wash your hands, you can protect yourself. And people had a debate on whether they should wash their hands or not. I watched people talking about this, right? And then they talked about the mask. And then they said it was airborne. And then they said, so this is, to me, this is a virus that is definitely MI5 to a level. You know what I mean? It keeps being a little bit of Van Damme, you know, with a little sprinkle of Jackie Chan on top of it. Like, what do you want? And the aim is to make you psychologically, a virus is a virus. Everybody knows when you get a virus, it's like, yes, I know people say it's like the flu, but it's not like the flu. Because what this virus does, it finds a way to mutate inside your body. And if you've got underlying conditions, yes, it will do stuff to you. But this is the part no one's talking about. The impact of having the virus and knowing that your body, the way my body will respond to it, will be different from the way your body would. In Africa, I'm assuming people will get the virus, but they're going to think about it like the flu. They're going to then take herbal supplements that we don't have yet. And believe me, you have to take your extra vitamin D and zinc. We get like the natural dose of vitamin C, D on a normal basis from the sun. We get like natural organic food that is not genetically modified, that hasn't got all the pesticides that you think. So now we're thinking about the environment straight away, aren't we? We're thinking about what we put in our body. And then there's something that we need to think about that is very important: stress, the cortisol.
Oh my
in our
gosh.
body. Remember, last year was the hardest year for you to be Black. Now, imagine they've told you that, guess what? COVID is going to kill you. If not, you're going to lose your job. If not, your kids are going to be at home and you're going to have to provide for these kids. If not, guess what? It might be the police that kills you. No, they don't do that. You're going to face racism. No, you then have this multiple layers of crap that you then have to now navigate in the world, in the UK, in Europe. In Africa, you don't need to do that. You wake up, you see your brother, uncle, you're okay, auntie, you're okay. You live your life. you drink some soursop, you have some sea moss. You know, if you have a little cough, someone will go, you go to the herbalist, they will make some natural concoction, your throat, you will clear your phlegm. You probably not eat meat that much because you're going to have some greens and you're going to do some fast and you're going to let your body rest. And guess what? Well, what we do here, we love prescription. Your eyes itching you, there's a prescription for it. Your throat's itching you, there's a prescription. So your body's normal immune response is dead. So that means, and we are so germ phobic. So even the natural germs, remember, I used to eat mud pies growing up. I don't know about other people. We used to eat worms. Like, it was just one of those weird things. Like, you will make the little cake and the worms would be like the little toppings. And this, for people to think, yes, you must have done that in Africa. Nah, I did that in Upton Park in East London. So for those people that are with your bias, listen, I grew up around you guys. So listen, don't worry about my accents. I can code switch. So these are the layers that we've gone through that I need you to understand. When you're talking about this, we know you're not making sense because you're not talking about the real issues, because you don't want to really remove the real issues, but you want to do some tests. And I've never known in the history, I don't know, please, this is my opinion, where a vaccine has come out that quick in my whole life. I've looked at research paper, in 1 year, within 1 year, for those people that are scientists, I can say I don't have a PhD. I have never heard of it, that within 1 year, come up with a vaccine to vaccine the whole world. Man, whoever that done that here, I tell you, you're better than Flash. You're better than all the superheroes in this world, because I think that's brilliant. So for those, and that's the thing, the community is not going to trust you because we've seen you with these tactics over the years. So we're just making it plain. But again, this is my opinion, and I'm not that educated. You know what I mean? I just know what my mind knows I know. And I need to be able to see from different people's points of views. But before I can see it, I need you to see it from our point of view, because we're not that stupid, you know what I mean? We're privileged Black people talking to other privileged Black people. But maybe the ones that need to listen to this are those that don't want to listen to how this conversation is not being had. So let's open more doors to have these open dialogues so we don't sound crazy to those who think they're trying to close our eyes, you know what I mean? Because we see you. So make it clear, make it plain in anything you do.
Marvina, that's so good. Marvina, that you literally broke everything down so beautifully. And as I said, it was like the flu. I could have kind of kicked myself a bit. My likeness to it was that every year there's something that comes out. There's something that comes out that's going to kill everyone off, and then there's a massive fear that comes in around it. I have never seen such a quick response, like what you said, for a vaccine within a short amount of time, like they brought out this vaccine. So for me, it's either one or two theories. There was a plan somewhere where this was already made up, this was already thought out. We're going to, first of all, make them worry to death, because so many of us, like what you said, we love a prescription. Run to the doctor for, like what you said, if we've got a tiny little itch in our eye, you know, a sniffle in our nose, we're going straight to the doctors. But you know, it's very unlikely that you find people that will want to go first for a herbal remedy, that will go and speak to a brother or sister to go and find out a way that they could possibly get rid of this itch before they think it's something. It's like we've been brought up and taught how to look for an illness. So therefore, there's a part of our brain that's accepted that at some point we're going to get sick. So we're just constantly looking for it. So yes, we know that, look, it's real, it's happening, it's out there, COVID is out there. We know that. But at the same time, if we are not nurturing, if we are not taking the vitamins, if we are not drinking our water, if we are not meditating, if we are not protecting our immune system from a mental standpoint, the first thing we're going to do is, I believe personally, that you can catch things a lot quicker. I've seen it. I have seen it. Everyone, I don't know many people who have caught COVID, but a couple of people that I knew that I do know who have caught COVID, they were the people that I thought that would have caught it because of their mentality around sickness. Now, the ones that I know that understand that there's a sickness, they will do, they'll tick all the boxes in a sense. So they'll wear the mask where they need to, they'll use the sanitizers where they need to. They are very mindful of people around them, but they refuse to carry it here. They refuse to carry it internally. And I feel that when I have witnessed people walking with that type of mentality, they've been able to deal with the situation in a more relaxed view. And my hope for us as a people would be that we'd be able to do more of that. But I also understand, because in this country, most people on the front line are Black and brown people. So they may see a little more than what we do and have more understanding and wonder, but yet at the same time have more concern, because like you said, they're going home to their families, their loved ones, so their worry isn't just for them per se, it's for those around them. I don't think every time I come to a conclusion within COVID-19, I kind of do a complete turn again and have to look from a different aspect. But more than ever, I'd encourage people to do your research, take your vitamin D, take high strength vitamin C, not synthetic, because synthetic vitamin C it's killing you. So there's just no point. What it does to our bones is ridiculous. I recommend camu berry. I think it is one of the best forms of vitamin C on the planet. If we're not taking it, why? I recommend MSM. It helps our body to reproduce connective tissue in a way that we just can't do on alone. I recommend CMOS. I recommend apple cider vinegar. Let's take these things. All right, I'm going to say it. So the people that have come to me with COVID-19 and they've asked me, Charlotte, look, I've got COVID, I've got it, what can I do? So I've sent them away with a little pack where they've not been able, oh, look, little one, love a little one, sorry, distraction. But I've sent them away with a little pack and their taste has come back pretty quickly. They have felt a lot more energetic. They have felt, the symptoms haven't lingered as much. So for me, it goes back to what Marvina was saying. There are so many things that we can be doing. And those countries that we would call third world, they're doing those things anyway. They've been taking the herbal remedies. They grew up on it. So when a sickness comes, it doesn't hit the same way. That's my thoughts.
Cool. I think I tell you when I really saw people really start distrusting what was going on, and it was natural because we're all quite skeptic of the system, of the powers that be, etc., etc. But there was this time, I think it was a couple of French scientists who says, let's do a trial on Africa, I do believe. And at that point, they lost a lot of Black people because they want to trial on us again. And so talking about the mindset and the mental and the carrying things in your heart, you almost carry that as a burden on a daily basis of why do you all consistently want to poison us? Why don't you trial it on yourself first? What is that going on? And so you're right. So people start kind of saying, all right, then let's look at that. But also there is the idea of, like you said, looking at the natural stuff. I remember back in April when the sun was hot and they were saying, go out into the sun, and people going out in the sun. And even with the COVID going on, you felt kind of like, all right, then add some kind of energy. You come to the dire winter in Britain, which makes you feel down anyway, because you're here in the blasted cold. It makes you feel like, oh, damn, I actually want to go home to somewhere warm. You know what I mean? And it's just those little things which actually reminate in your head, like psychologically, which actually starts permeating. And this is what I find. And so it just builds a whole load of layers of distrust on top of distrust on top of distrust because of that sort of thing. And then there was the other incident where in China where they're saying the Africans gave them the COVID over there, and all those things we would keep on saying these things, which kind of just you thinking, why are they consistently picking on black people to want to do their experiment or persecute for whatever? And so that's my thing.
I'm so sorry. Do you know what? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm laughing. This has been. I love this session so much because everything we're talking is based on historical facts. It's not even emotional, and that's why it's laughable. Because historically, they've just the lies of unconscious bias and institutional racism that disease patterns have been implemented in the Black community to almost cleanse, to almost trial, to almost listen. You don't have a speculum if you never tried it on a Black woman. Do you understand? Like, do you know that you would not have the cure for gonorrhea if they didn't infect soldiers? Do you understand that there are loads of ways to understand how painkillers work by trying it on Black slaves? Do you get? So when we say we don't want to do it first, we're not saying it because, oh, we're barbaric and we're just scared of, we're just, in this controversy. We're tired of being your guinea pig. Please try it on your people first. There are more of you. Aren't we the minority? You know what? We give you guys, this is the first time Black people, I'm speaking for the Black people I know anyway, just the ones I know. I don't know about the other people that I don't know. We in our union are telling you, we give you permission. Try it on your people first. Try it on the elderly. In fact, the fact that they say 1 in 5 elders can get this. Do you want to kill the elders? We want our older people to live. Don't we want our old people to live? We want them to pass the baton. So why don't you give it to people in the care homes? Please explain to me. Why? Okay, you told me that the king and the queen of England, she took the virus. She took the vaccine, not the virus. By the way, the vaccine, the vaccine is just the virus made in a way to allow your body. So when I say she took the virus, it's the truth. And you gave her corona and she now has the vaccine. I'm happy. Give it to all those socialites. Give it to all of them. And all those top people, let all of them take it first. Let's watch how they survive in the next. Yes. And then after that, give it to the ones after them. Then don't worry, come to us. We're okay. We give you that permission. And any other Black people that want to take it, go and take it, no problem. But don't try and then do your propaganda and make us feel guilty and make it look like you're doing us a favor. Who asked you? How come the paycheck and the pay rise has not gone to Black people? Where's the kite mark for employment for Black people, right? Let me see you're investing in Black people quota in employment. Oh, so you don't think those things are important, right? You've not thought about the police stop and search protocols, right? You've not thought about all these things that you should be thinking about. We are dying in the police cares. You're not thinking about that as a priority. But COVID came last year, and all of a sudden, it's Black people you want to give the vaccine to. Man, shut up, man. Are you okay? Sure, we're okay. You think we're stupid? Anyway, that being said, I open it to everybody else. Would I take the vaccine? So I've got a sickle cell, I'm asthmatic, yeah? I'm saying that to you. I am part of the #1 people that get the letter to say I should go and queue. I normally get a vaccine for flu every year. And I'm not anti-vaccine. So let me make that clear. I am not anti-vaccine. But what I've learned is that I didn't take my vaccines last year for obviously the reasons of COVID, because you couldn't go to your doctor to get your vaccine. And I didn't catch the flu last year. But last year, what I did differently is that I ate a lot of fruits. In fact, I drank a lot of water. I think my body is the most healthiest it's ever been. I ate a lot of organic stuff. I looked at MSN. I looked at organic provision of vitamins. I started taking my 5-HTP and looking at my magnesium. I started doing different things. My body just actually responded in a different way. But that's me. I'm not telling other people that's. But I didn't need a vaccine this year. I didn't even need my normal hay fever supplement this year. I was shocked. and I really have bad hay fever. That's what I was talking about, the itchy eyes. So there must be something about what you think, what a man thinketh in his mind, and how what you eat, you become. So we need to try and come up with healthier habits that we need to formulate, that we need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of our elders. We need to think about, what kind of organic food do we need to provide for our communities? And what natural supplements can we use to build our immune systems? That's the conversation I want to have, please. Let's look at how we stop having food that are genetically modified, making sure that there's not pesticide in the food that we eat. The water that we're drinking doesn't have to undergo so much treatment because it's being purified. When you start talking to me about that, COVID will come and go just like the Spanish flu. Come on, guys, listen. And yes, it's survival of the fittest. And I know no one wants to hear that. But then let all of us get fit. Help everybody to get fit and healthy. It's simple. It's not hard. Don't make it complicated. But anyway, let's pass. I want to hear whether Mary has anything to say.
I think Mary's going to tell us actually if they do want to in the chat. I've been checking with them, but like Charlotte, fitness professionals in the room. I feel like we need an action plan, and the food, medicine. This is what I got taught my yoga training, right? Let medicine be your food and food be your medicine. I mean, I grew up with a granny who always, gave me garlic and ginger. Like I eat about a bulb of garlic a day. I've just started feeling really scared for my granny actually, because when I spoke to her, she's like, yeah, I'm going to do what I'm told. She's 93. I'm taking the vaccine. I do want to talk about stress, and actually, no, I'm going to change that. I'm not scared for my granny. She's been holistic her whole life, takes propolis when she's ill. I mean, any vegans in the room, I know that the products are an issue, and I've never really, she used to swear by royal jelly, and I'd be like, how do you get that royal bee jelly, Gran? But I got brought up on natural food, food being and always organic and sort of hello baby, hello beautiful, and that connection to the land. But I wanted to cry when you were speaking just now, Marvina. And I wanted to cry for the stress, how stressful modern life is. It's one of the most inflaming things for your body, for your organs, for your tissues. And when we're in stress, when the cortisol's going, we're in fight or flight, the cells can't repair, we can't absorb our nutrients anyway, and we get our food from an unnourished soil, we know that. And the stress is the biggest precursor to, heart disease, diabetes, everything like that.
So when I'm listening, so my theory on this, with third world countries and the first world, we've been sold such a lie in the sense of how we eat, how we live our day-to-day lives, and what we place importance on. So what Marvina said a bit earlier was you're back home, you wake up, you say hi uncle, you say hi auntie, you get along with your life, you're cleaning, you're doing the jobs that you need to do, you go to work, you provide for your family. The importance is on looking after your community, where in the West it's about how much you can make and what profit you can gain, and how quickly we can get things done. So the basics of what we need to be able to function at full capacity, there's no importance placed on that. I go back to when I did my training to become a fitness coach. When I look at my books and the mechanics of everything, yes, they talked about nutrition, but maybe 1 or 2 pages. Everything else was about how we can get people to do stuff. So there was more interest in directing them from how to use the equipment from an outwards point of view, rather than the holisticness where we need to go within. And we have lost it. We have lost it in the West. Sometimes I wonder if it was ever really there. That is why so much was stolen, but that's another conversation. I feel that this past year years prior, when I used to encourage people to take their vitamins, to take their herbs, to look into things, don't just take things as gospel. This past year, I have seen so much change in my community that they're now wanting to do these things because they understand this cure method against the prevention method. It's not working. It's not sustainable. And when they put it down, sorry, when you think about it, taking 5 minutes in the morning to take your CMOSs, you know, your MSM, your Camu, your vitamin D, that little routine, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to put your body first. So there is such a need within our community. I'd say of all races, this comes under over everyone, to be more educated about nutrition and for people to understand that it's not a waste of time. It's not just for rich people, because this is sometimes what I come across. Oh, you know, I ain't got time to take all that. You know, that's for people that got time for that. Well, you do have to have time to look into these things. And okay, some things are expensive, but there are ways to do things. You can come together. Say, you know, you want to buy 100 grams, a kg of MSM. Okay, it might not be within your price range, but if 4 or 5 of you get together and put together £3 each, you'll get far more MSM for your money than what you would if you'd done it by yourself. So that we need to come up with ways within the community to help people understand that the investment in self is important, so that when times like this arise, it's something you do naturally. And if anything, it's something that maybe you just up a little bit more. You spend a little bit more time meditating, in prayer, breathing deeply, all the things that we take for granted.
I think that's important, and particularly, I'm a self-confessed eat badly. I'm gonna I hold my hands up. I do. You know what I mean? However, what I would say, I think what I rediscovered, I said rediscovered, I would say discovered, because I never actually did it before, was actually the connection with nature. The whole of last year, I suddenly thought I was some makeshift gardener. I was out there in the garden planting callaloo and potatoes and thyme plants and carrots and water. And the truth is, it didn't matter whether they grew or not. It was the fact that I was out there in the garden, in the sun, with my water, and just connecting with nature. And I can also say, although I had some horrific experiences around me with the COVID, you know, with like people around me literally dying. However, I can honestly say that it was probably, in terms of my headspace and relaxation, it's probably one of my best, most relaxed years I've ever had, just because of that thing of being connecting with nature, being in the garden, as I said, messing about, trying to avoid all the insects which come out and creep at me and jump out, and the bugs dropping at me from the apple tree and all the rest of it. And you know that little squirrel running across the fence and I ran in the other direction. And all, anyway, I'm revealing too much about myself here. But anyway, it's that me being naturally in the garden, connecting with nature, and that was amazing. And that actually, like I said, I felt fitter than I had done in a long time, and more healthy. And in my mind, I felt like I was kind of in a place where I couldn't be defeated, if you like, just for linking with nature.
But do you know what you just said, Uncle Kevin? There, like, what's so amazing about that? We don't get to stay at home and do nothing. I don't know a lot of black people. I know there's a lot of people out there that think we came here to take your job and go on benefit. A lot of black people I know, none of them are on benefit. They don't. We don't move like that. So we're always working. Last year I saw a lot of black people, and it makes me want to cry. Just, we had to stop. Like, we had to physically stop Do you know what? Yeah, you see, when people are talking, horticulture is a privilege. Let me say that again for people that don't get it. We don't even get to, like, I like to walk, yeah, but I live in an area that it would be nice to go walking now. But I'm thinking, is it safe for me as a black girl when I know that we can count and spot the black in my area walking on street at this time? We don't get to go into nature like that if we don't have a group of friends that we know that we can be safe around. Let that sink in. We don't get the, except we have gardens in our spaces, to even have the experience of planting stuff. We don't get that, you know. Did you hear, like, Uncle Kevin looks like a very young man in his late 20s, early 30s, maybe. Yeah, you know? And imagine that timeline. He's telling you that this year was the first time he found himself getting that spare time to put his hand in soil. Then people that are in their 60s, 70s that will tell you that they've been working non-stop, and that's where the stress comes. And you wonder why we don't live longer, because we're working like dogs, working constantly in this country. So people that are in the third world countries, yes, they're working, but they're living. We actually work to die here. We work to die. We don't even, do you know, and those that live in London, I even feel more sorry for those ones that live in London. Because even I live in West Yorkshire, so like we're a little bit more relaxed down here, you know, down in Yorkshire, you know, with our Yorkshire tea, which is not even Yorkshire, it comes from India. By the way, that's gonna bust a lot of people's bubble. Now with Brexit, you guys don't have anything. No, I don't even know what you guys have that is comes from England that you guys are fighting to not be in the EU. But let's not go there. So that on top of that, we are in a country where being black is hard, you know. I'm not trying to say, I'm not asking for your pity. Don't get me wrong. You're speaking to people that are doing well for themselves. But do you know what mentally it is for you to walk around and someone saying you're more likely to get COVID? That's a label you have given me. Did I ask you for that? This is not an award show. This is not first get the disease competition. You've not given me that label that you're first. So people are going to be looking at me when I'm on the bus now. You know, there's black people, you know, another unconscious bias you've layered me with. Don't you think we have enough? So these are the things that we're working with. When we're going to work, we have 110 things. Is the bus going to run me over? That's one. Is someone going to be racist to me and hit me with a bottle because they just don't like the fact that I'm black? We come up with this madness in our head, you know, and that's just some natural. We come up with risk assessment that nobody else can get sometimes. I don't know why we do it, but we do. Maybe it's just me. I don't know if other black people go through that process where you just think of some random things that we go through. But anyway, let me sum it up to this. Like, COVID at the moment, emotionally, has been a lot. If I think maybe a good way to sum it up would be with the word COVID, what comes into your mind? And what do you love around this whole COVID period? What do you hate and what would you like to see happen in the future? So what do I love around the word COVID? It caused me to pause and spend time with my children. I was working so many hours. It also made me sometimes didn't like my children. I wanted to run away from them, I'm not gonna lie. So what did I hate about it? For all the single mothers out there, I'm celebrating you guys. All the single parents out there, I don't know what you're doing. I love you. I don't know. I know you didn't have any break. And for those, so I hated the isolation and the loneliness. What I would like to create actually around, I would love to use what I loved, which was being able to spend quality time. I would like to fix the isolation and loneliness because I think that contributes to a lot of the death rates. I do think it does because I feel you can be lonely and be around people. You can be isolated and be around people. Mostly when you know the trauma that you're feeling, nobody else can feel it. So just because you might see someone every day doesn't mean they're not lonely. Just because they're friendly and they're outgoing. And sometimes it's okay not to be okay. For your black friends and your brown friends, we feel loneliness and isolation in a different way. because this world can be lonely when you're in a space that tells you you're not welcome, or you're meant to be dead, or you're meant to be sick, or they're prescribing an identity to you. So I'm not asking you to be sorry for me, just asking you to be empathetic and be better. I'll pass it to someone else. That's my roundup.
Okay, let me do my last round then. Right. So I remember a quote what my granny used to say. She used to say, "You can't kill work, but work can kill you." so that's what she used to say. So in that, I recognize that one of the best things about this COVID, and I know this, I tried to take the positives out of it, was the fact that I could spend time in the garden, and actually, strangely enough, I quite liked the idea that I was isolated. I was in my house most of the time with my mum and my son, who happens to be 23, so he's a big grown man in his own right. So we could have adult conversations. So it's not like me trapped in the house with a child. I wanted to strangle them. But however, it was nice because what I recognize is the day-to-day living as a black man. I recognize that as soon as I walk out my door, I remember having a conversation with somebody recently about, she said to me, what do you see as white privilege? And I'm saying, I will tell you what I could see as black disprivilege, if that makes sense. It's the fact that I walk out my house, and as soon as I walk out my house, I have to think of being black every step. As soon as I walk out, there's never a time that I don't think about being a black man, other than when I'm in my house where I'm just me. You know, and those kind of things can really kind of get into your psyche and wear you down and all of that. So actually, it's quite nice to be able to just be me without wondering, without being the me who have to kind of almost show that double consciousness thing of what do I show to the world. You know, just being me in that moment was nice. However, on the flip side of that, I think what was quite worrying for me during the COVID period is the fact that I recognize there's a lot of controversy around vaccinations and all of the stories out there. And then there's a lot of the kind of what people call conspiracy theories. However, all of them seem to be coming true. So are they really conspiracy or are they not? But I'm not going to get into that. What is more worrying for me is a lot of the people around me were saying the whole thing is a hoax. And I'm saying it is not a hoax because I know people have had it. I had it myself. When I had it, I had a headache for 14 days, literally 14 days. I thought I had cancer. So for my doctor, I said, "Doctor, I've got cancer. I've got a brain tumor. I've had a headache for 10 days." And she said, "No, it's probably the COVID." And she gave me the symptoms I'm gonna have, and it kind of cleared. So I believe it's a real thing. And so I think the most worrying thing for me is the fact that people are saying it's a hoax. But on the other side of that, I love being at home, just being me. And that's that really.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's been really interesting. Sorry I've not inputted, but I just wanted just to see what everybody's views were. It's just a minefield with the COVID and how you feel and what you should say, what you shouldn't say. But for me, it's not as been as worrying as I thought it was going to be because, you know, with all the stuff that we hear in the news and everything, and you know, I live alone, so I have been isolated, but you know, I have other underlining conditions where I've always been isolated. So for me, it's just made me the country's in line with how I've been living my life. So you know, it's been interesting to see how people go, "I can't do this, I can't do that," and "Oh my God, this is terrible." As I've been living that life for a very long time, so it's been interesting in that sense. But it's also been it's allowed me to be okay not to do anything because nobody else is doing it, and not to feel guilty about that. Um, uh, So yeah, so it's yeah, it's just been so enlightening to see how humanity, you know, has kind of, because I keep hearing people saying, oh yeah, when we come out of this, we're all going to be nicer people, and when we come out of the first lockdown, it showed that people weren't any nicer. It was quite interesting how they all reverted to their nastiness and, you know, doing whatever. And I always kind of knew no one would come out. You know, you can't change humanity in what, 4 or 5 months. You just can't do it. So I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, this is sad that we are now, as of today, we're still one of the highest countries in the world. We've had deaths. I think that is so sad. And you know, you have places in the world that have just not had so many deaths, and it was possible. I just find that's the whole sadness out of COVID. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
So my thoughts on the past year, I feel like we've all been sent to our room to think and contemplate about life and where we're going and what we're doing and how we're functioning as a global community. I feel like literally God said, right, everybody, I'm not happy. Go to your room, reevaluate your life. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. That is really how I feel. And I feel for me personally, within this time, I have allowed myself to remember a lesson that my dad actually taught me when I was younger. So I always used to think my dad was invincible, like nothing ever could have happened to him at all, that he was just amazing. And, you know, I had my own emotional situations going on, and he always used to say to me, you know, Charlotte, you have a choice. Charlotte, you have a choice. Mentally, you have a choice. No matter what you have to do, you can choose freedom. And I never really understood it until I actually got to about 20, like between my 20s and my 25th year. And this year, sorry, 2020, I was remembering that. I was remembering, okay, I know what's going on. I'm mindful of what's going on, but I can still choose how I'll be in those moments. So for me, 2020 has been an empowering year because I have chosen to allow myself to have the moments when I feel weak, but to always remember that I can overcome and be stronger. That's what I learned this year. That's my thoughts.
I don't know how to top that. It's yeah, it's about what's been important to me, and that's connecting to other human beings. And I was always a bit of a workaholic, and I kind of bought into that idea that if you work hard, you know, just keep working. But I'd work myself to sickness a lot. And it's been a gift for me as well, because I got to see my third child be a baby, whereas I didn't see the other two really. I was just working too much. And I got to meet you guys, and I got to stop being so scared as well, I think. I had fear and anxiety in a really big way when it all began, and I really let the fear in, and it came out as anger. If I'd be on the high street and people get too close, and I didn't like it, and I would cry a lot, and I had this permanent shake in my hand. And so I hear what you're saying about the choice as well. I've had so many gifts this year, and you lot are definitely one of them. So thank you so gratefully.
That's your gift to us too.
Absolutely.
But I just saw something Kevin said that none of us has said. Financially, this has been the hardest year for a lot of people. COVID has literally destroyed a lot of people, but has also made COVID millionaires too. And let's be able to hear that and let that sit with people. Financially, COVID has destroyed a lot of people, but has made also a lot of COVID millionaires.
Oh, that is another conversation I'd like
It
to have.
is. It's one we should have.
Yeah.
It's one we should have. It's worth talking about.
The financial ruins that we're in.
Yeah,
because
for
of COVID.
definitely.
Collapsing of the financial system, where if we're going to look at the pandemic thing, that is what it's about.
Then that's when we talk about pandemic.
Yeah.
Right,
So we
it's
got our next
coming.
topic.
It's coming.
topic.
I'm gonna stop the live stream. So thank you everybody for watching.
They could do another 2 hours here.
I know.
Thank you. You know you need to subscribe, yeah? Now you have no excuse. Subscribe.
Listen, subscribe.
If you like
Everyone,
this,
subscribe. Watch
Yeah.
live. Come on. You want to.
And tell us what you want to talk